Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to another episode of the Exotical Storytime series. Make sure to email your stories to exoticalsunited@gmail.com. I'm so glad we have a safe space on here because we can't all be lying. And I've noticed that all of our stories have so many common threads. Lots of us have been told you're not that light skinned, or people will go out of their way to try to humble us, or they want us to feel insecure about how we look because people are jealous. But let's go ahead and get into the story. She says, Exoticals, this channel has been life-changing for me. This channel has done what therapy could not. Believe me, I have so many stories to tell. I'll start with the most recent events. So I started working at this warehouse job in July of last year. We don't have to dress up for this job. Workout clothes is the dress code for context. Before I continue, a little background. I grew up a military brat. So I've lived all over the world and experienced different cultures. I went to military-based schools, which are very diverse. So I grew up around mostly white people, which means I talk white. At least that's what my family members would say that lived in the hood whenever we would visit them. Another story for another day, but I digress. To explain my phenotype, I am monoracial light-skinned. I have been compared to Fancy from the Jamie Foxx show and Halle Bailey. I have those doe-looking eyes with a light brown complexion, Fenty shade 330. Yeah, so light skin. I have relaxed hair and wear extensions that blend in with my natural hair with highlights. I will post a picture of myself for an idea, but please keep the picture anonymous. People are always asking me where I am from and if I am mixed with Indian. My parents are both darker-skinned monoracial. My great-grandmother was Native American, so some of those genes just randomly chose to show out through me. Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw your picture. The girl who sent me this, I definitely thought she was black and native. Like her face kind of reminds me of mine. But she says, I have always received male attention ever since I was a child, from old to young of all races. This caused many problems growing up, especially with my mother, but I'll get back to her. Due to my diverse background, I get along with mostly every culture that I interact with. I can become a chameleon within any space. Me being the new girl at this job, I could tell that made certain women on the job feel some type of way. It is very diverse where I work at. I live in LA, so there are a lot of Asians, Mexicans, black and white people who work here. Because of how I look, I naturally draw attention. I take care of the way I look. I keep my hair nice and neat and natural looking. My nails stay done with a near French manicure. I dress in Calvin Klein workout clothes, so my clothes are always looking cute. I keep my makeup light, just a simple foundation and gloss. The other females on the job wear sweatpants and baggy clothes, so I stand out. I received what you would say celebrity treatment from the moment I started that job. People are always going out of their way just to say hi to me. Managers will look for me and tell me unnecessary things. If someone walks past me without speaking when I try to speak to them, the next time I see them, it's almost like they feel the need to overly say hello just to make sure I wasn't mad at them, if you catch what I'm saying. Yes, I've noticed that a lot of exoticals do get a celebrity treatment. So people, they admire you. Some people will hate you, and then others will live vicariously through you. People will pretend that they look like you when they look nothing like you. Similar to how people do with celebrities. They'll be like, oh, I look like Beyonce. I look like so-and-so. And then that person looks nothing like them. I noticed that people do this with us exoticals in real life. They'll say, oh, you look just like my sister. You look just like me. You're only one shade lighter than me. Your hair texture is only a little bit looser than mine. But in reality, it's like, no, we are living two totally different lives. Like, we are navigating through society differently. But let's continue. She says, I have been asked by 5 different people, 3 of them were management, within the first week. Oh, I have been asked out by 5 different people, 3 of them were management, within the first week of work from different races of men. I have always noticed that I received pretty privilege, but this was on another level. I am naturally an introvert due to my social anxiety, so I tend to stay to myself a lot, so I get misjudged as bougie. If I go without speaking to a certain person, not on purpose, but because I want to be alone that day, but let's say I did speak to this other person, I will notice that person that I spoke to flaunting the fact that I spoke to them in front of the others. I guess it gives It gives, look at me talking to the pretty girl and not you. Sometimes I feel like just a doll to many of them. Yes, I've noticed that people will brag about knowing you. People will brag about talking to you, just like how a lot of monoracials brag about their sister being light skinned. They will brag about their cousins being lighter than you because they view light skin tones or they view mixed race hair textures and features as a flex. And so that's why they're doing that, is because you are the flex. Let's continue. She says, I soon noticed many of the females would copy something that I would do. For example, if I wore a certain hairstyle, I would soon see other females trying to do the same style. I also noticed many of them started wearing makeup even though they weren't prior. It was obvious many of them were copying me, down to my purse and everything. Yes, oh my gosh, okay, this is random, but have you guys ever had anyone try to copy your diet? Because I've literally had women at work try to copy what I'm eating almost as if they want their body to look like mine or something. So it's like, if I always bring in Trader Joe's groceries and put them in the fridge in the office because those are my groceries for the week at work, then suddenly other women will start bringing in Trader Joe's. Or like if I eat oatmeal for lunch or if I eat soup for lunch, I've noticed that the women who were jealous of me, they would be mean to me, but then they would also try to eat the exact same things as me. I'm pretty sure that's probably happened to some of you guys too. But yes, copying, once again, you're getting the celebrity treatment. We copy celebrities. We copy what they wear. We copy their diets. So they're doing the same thing. They're treating you like the office celebrity. But let's continue. She says, people will follow me around in the warehouse as well. It has gotten so bad to the point where I've had an older man stalking me on the job. He would look for me throughout the warehouse every day like a crazy person. He was at least 60 to 70 years of age and just creepy. He was monoracial, dark-skinned for reference. He always complimented my eyes and skin tone and how beautiful I was. One day he brought me a gift to work. I had only been on the job for 5 days. He would wait for me to get off work. He would even go as far as to tell me to wait for him when I clock out so we can walk out together. It was just creepy. The females on the job that I was referring to earlier are a group of monoracial females and one white, heavier set girl that always sit together during lunch. Me being the new girl and shy, I knew I would want to eventually befriend them due to proximity. I befriended this gay guy, we will call him Chris. He soon introduced himself to me and we became close. He sat at the same table as those females. He introduced me to everyone and we became cordial for a few days. So for the first couple of weeks, I would sit at the table and try to interact with them. I soon started to realize that I wasn't as welcomed as I had thought. One female, she was dark-skinned, monoracial, would bring food for the entire table and would bring plates to share with everyone. She gave everyone a plate except me. This was around Thanksgiving time. This is the same female that I first noticed copying my hairstyles, by the way. There were other days where they would go out the night before and would talk about their night, but no one invited me. I would soon notice the backhanded compliments from them. One of the ladies, she's an older lady, maybe in her 50s, came up to me to ask if I was pregnant out of the blue in front of everyone. I have a slight tummy, so she thought it was okay to just ask me that. Yeah, they're definitely jealous. Have you ever noticed how when you are the pretty girl, people feel like it's okay to comment on your body? They feel like it's okay to call out when you have acne or when you've gained weight. But if a girl is considered ugly, and if you consider her to be an outcast already, you don't call out her flaws in her body because you already feel sorry for her, because you feel like she's at the bottom. People only try to bring you down when they feel like you were higher up than them. But let's continue. She says, I soon realized what the problem was. I was receiving a lot of attention from men, and everyone could see that. There was this one particular guy. He was probably the most handsome guy that worked there. He was an MLS guy as well. Very big muscles and just straight eye candy. I found out through the grapevine that he had a crush on me. I picked up on his crush through little hints he would throw my way. Eventually, me and him would start talking every day after work, past the clock out time. We had a clear, unspoken attraction to each other. The other females saw this, and I knew 2 of them had a big crush on him. One of the females, heavier set monoracial, would get triggered every time she saw us talking. She would make random outbursts like how she can't stand bougie people, so I could hear or try to get his attention first when she saw him about to approach me. The entire table would eventually try to cock block between us in weird ways. It just soon became obvious what they were doing. The older female I spoke about in her 50s randomly shouts out one day at the table that she slept with the handsome guy before and that they used to mess around. The subject we were on had no way to segue her saying this. I just felt like she felt a need to let me know. Yeah, she was trying to flex on you. She was trying to flex that, oh, I slept with a guy who looks like you. Have you ever noticed people are like, they want to date us or they want to create us. So I've noticed a lot of times monoracial women, they will say things like, oh, well, my boyfriend, I have a light-skinned boyfriend. They'll brag about having a light-skinned boyfriend. They'll brag about sleeping with a guy who is mixed race, or they'll brag about their brother or their ex-husband or somebody or their son being mixed race or being light-skinned. And they're doing that as a way to try to humble you and tell you you're not special. I have access to the same things as you. You are not more privileged than me. That's what they're trying to tell you. But the fact that they are subconsciously trying to tell you that is actually proof that you are more privileged than them, clearly. Let's continue. She says, one day a new girl came in and I befriended her. She was an MLS woman from Jamaica. She was 2 shades lighter than me. Me and her clicked fast and became close. The older female kept trying to get in the middle of me and her. She would over-compliment the new girl in front of me, but she never gave me one, not once. The shade from her was inevitable at that point. I choose to take care of my appearance because I wasn't always confident. I just recently had a confidence boost, and a lot of it has to do with your channel. I dealt with body dysmorphia for years. I have been gaslit so much growing up, it's ridiculous. Yes, I actually have a theory that most MLS people have body dysmorphia, myself as well. I definitely feel like I had body dysmorphia because I went all the way down to a 23-inch waist because, yes, I wanted to be skinny, but part of it was because other Black girls in the fashion industry, or like girls from my college and stuff, they would try to say, well, she's fat. Well, her waist is big, or, they would try to point out different parts of my body that supposedly looked awkward or looked like they were off. And so it did cause me to have body dysmorphia because, like, when I do my actual measurements, I actually have an hourglass shape and I do have a smaller waist. And so, but because people were so hateful, I guess, and so jealous, they would try to call out flaws because I don't have a 6-pack or anything. Like, no matter how skinny I get, I'll never get a 6-pack. So I was over here thinking, oh, I must be fat or something, or maybe I have love handles or something, or maybe my back is out of shape and I just can't see it and other people can see it, and that's why they're saying this. But I've noticed that a lot of pretty women tend to struggle with things like body dysmorphia because other people, they want you to have body dysmorphia. They want you to think you're ugly when you're not. They want you to think that you're fat when you're not. They want you to think that you are not light-skinned when you are. And it's because you meet their beauty standard. You are more beautiful than them in their eyes, and so they want to bring you down. But let's continue. She says, I have been gaslit so much growing up, it's ridiculous, especially by my mother. So when I came across your content, I was like, I am not crazy at all. I carry a lot of guilt for looking the way I do. I tend to downplay my looks sometimes so I don't make other women feel some type of way. I would get the label of being the fast one out of me and my sister, even though I stayed a virgin until I became 21 and celibate for years after that. I am no longer a Christian, but I grew up in a Christian household, so I grew up with those morals and wanted to please God by saving myself for marriage. I was never fast at all, but because of the male attention I received, I was given that title by my own mother. She even accused me of messing around with my first cousin at the age of 15. I was just a kid. I remember getting sick and throwing up when I was 15, and she automatically thought I was pregnant. I didn't understand what colorism or featureism was until we temporarily stayed at my grandmother's house in between my dad being transferred to different duty stations. This was my first experience being in the hood. We were waiting for our house to be ready. I went to school out there for the second half of the school year. I was in the 9th grade. I was doing my makeup, getting ready for school, and she shouted to me that because I'm light-skinned that I don't need makeup. I didn't understand her need to point out my skin tone. And going to the school out there, I dealt with constant sabotage with the darker-skinned females. My first week at the school was Valentine's week. So Valentine's Day was day 3 of me being there, and I will never forget this day. So in the beginning of school, before the bell rang, all the students met in the auditorium. I walked into the gym, and when I sat down, 5 to 6 different guys came up to me with bags full of gifts. I was put on the spot. I had so many gifts, I had to ask one of the teachers could they hold it for me until school lets out. Once school was over, my mom came and picked me up. She saw all the gifts that I received and gave me a weird look. From that day on, my days at school was straight bullying from many of the females. People trying to start rumors about me being fast. The town was so small that these rumors got around to my mom. She believed the rumors even though I told her I was a virgin still. I never forgave her for that, and to this day we still have our issues. I was born lighter than I am now, and she told me that she wished I would have stayed lighter like when I was born. I was basically born yellow, but that was because I was born with jaundice. Yeah, I have noticed though that usually people are darker than when they were babies, but yeah, that's crazy. She says, "Your channel has been a life changer for me. I realized that dealing with body dysmorphia, anxiety, and depression was because of my mother's narcissism and jealousy of me. She has never been truly proud of any of my accomplishments. I've literally had a rags to riches story. I went from being homeless to joining the army, received 2 bachelor's degrees, and now living in LA working as a videographer for some pretty famous people. My mother's energy towards me has always been hateful. She has a thing against lighter skinned people because my father once told her that his type is light skinned women before he met her. He also stepped out on her with an MLS, so a lot of her anger came on to me growing up. Even though I received compliments from people all my life, I never felt like I was attractive myself. Once I realized the gaslighting that I went through, I had a huge glow up. So thank you for your channel. Let's get to 12K. Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of women will try to band together so that they can gang up on you in the workplace. I call this the basic Betty syndrome. Workplaces are filled with basic Betties. This is why I encourage all of you guys to start your own businesses or do whatever you can to get out of the 9 to 5, to like get out of an office environment. I don't care if you're door dashing, Ubering, doing Instacart, selling on OfferUp, selling on Facebook Marketplace or Let Go, or selling on Poshmark, or doing Amazon Flex or Shipped or trucking or anything where you don't have to interact with people, working from home. I highly recommend that if you are pretty that you do that, because if you go into an environment where there are a lot of women who are not leveled up, most jobs are filled with people who are not leveled up. Those people, on average, maybe they're struggling, they're not rich. So financially, they just needed a job, or maybe they didn't go after their dreams and they settled in life and stuff. I've noticed that a lot of 9 to 5 jobs are filled with people like that. And so I do feel like those are prime areas where people love to bully someone if they view you as the more leveled up person in the room. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.